Well, I thought about just doing a new show, and I thought, what better time than the middle of the night when nobody's watching? So I kind of give it this, it's a tailgate, and it's going to be a really loose show. I don't know how it's going to work out. That's why we're doing it in the middle of the night with nobody watching. Basically tonight, what's going to be is I'm going to talk about some topics, kind of like we do with our call-in show, but it's going to be a little bit different. This time, I'm going to bring people on. If you want to come on with StreamYard, I will drop the StreamYard link like we used to do in the old days with our old call-in shows. And you guys can come on in, check it out, talk about the topics. Really, a lot of news coming out. I mean, obviously, a lot of talk has been with Entz and losing Coach Entz and the fallout during signing day. We kind of covered signing day the other day, but we can still talk about that if you'd like. I want to talk about the portals that possibly might be happening. There's a lot of rumors right now. We have at least 5 Trojans that have portaled out already. And then maybe some portal projections. You know, who do you guys think we could see coming to USC over the offseason and making an immediate impact on the team? So that's really the docket. Oh, and also one more thing. We also have USC projected to go to a very familiar bowl in the bowl season against an SEC opponent. So we could talk about that as well. Just want to take a quick look at you guys. There's 55 guys on here already. Did not think we'd have people at 8:40 at night, but we may have a crowd. If you do want to join, I can go ahead and drop the link in the chat if you guys want to join the show. Let me do that right now, actually. That way, if you guys do want to line up, and if I get really desperate, maybe I'll drop the phone line. But I think we're gonna try to do it this way. I think no cheating. Don't call in. Let's try to use that. Let's try to use the link like we used to do, the StreamYard link in the old days. So hold on one second. Here you go. And you guys let me know if you guys like this show. We could do more of this kind of thing, or we can go back to the traditional call-in show. But I did want to make it more interactive because the problem is when I'm doing a call-in show, it's pretty tough. You know, there's a lot going on. I got screen calls. I'm trying to listen to the callers so I can respond to them. But when we're doing this kind of a show, again, it's just going to be like I always say, it's going to be your show, because I really want to have a situation where the Trojan family has a voice, and it's a good place to start. Just having a show pop up randomly, you know, just out of the blue. So it's another great reason that you guys should be subscribed to the show. All right. Make sure you're subscribing to the show so you know when we go live. We are trying to grow a channel. Let's get to 6,000. You know, we've been kind of sluggish this season. I really am bad at promoting it, but you guys go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe if you're enjoying the show. We will try to do as many as possible. Preston was unable to make it tonight. He's doing the whole family thing for Christmas, but we will be going live randomly. And believe me, we know this is USC and there's going to be tons of news. We're going to have lots of people coming in and hopefully no one leaving. I really want to protect the guys. Why don't we start there? Let's start with my little list here. We have of people that are officially portaled out. Let's start with the first portal out, the biggest portal out. Matt Entz heading up to Fresno State. Got a lot of heat. I talked about it in the last show. The guy made no, I said it, I think it was on Sunday night. He made no qualms about it. You know, he literally said, "Hey, I'm coming to USC because I need to make myself more available. I've won a national championship at the FCS level. Now I want to become an FBS coach." And he said one of the things he talked about was recruiting. And he wanted to come to USC in order to get experience, you know, at the Power 5, Power 4 level. And then parlay that into getting a job. And hats off to him. You know, the Fresno State job, like I talked about previously, it's a great job. It's where Kalen DeBoer started, got that opportunity up in Washington. Now he's over I'm sure he's having a wonderful contract over there in Alabama, coming off a really great recruiting class. So a lot, you know, people are saying, "Oh, Fresno State." Yeah, Fresno State. It's a better program than a lot of people give credit for over the years. So hope you guys are great Trojans and continue to support him and his efforts to improve his craft. I know I'll be watching his career. Eternally grateful for what he brought to the program. We knew he brought some kind of a toughness. I think what we're losing is we have young coaches. You know, we have Danton Lynn, who's not young, but he's a new DC. I'm sure having Matt Entz there was helpful. I'm sure with Lincoln Riley, although he's been a coach, you know, for years, still young, really could have leaned on Matt Entz for his ideas about practice, about toughness, about culture. But I'm assuming that over the past year, that transfer of information happened a lot, and I'm really hoping to see how that will change Lincoln Riley and the rest of the staff as time goes by. So good luck to you, Matt Entz. Appreciate you. A lot of people have talked about who might be the next linebacker coach. That's really kind of up in the air. I'm sure the names are start going through, but here's one thing I will tell you guys. This is the same administration really that brought in this current defensive staff, that brought in Matt Entz to begin with to start this. So I really am excited about who they're gonna bring in. I know that Jen Cohn is known for making great hires, right? And speaking of Kalen DeBoer, she's the one that hired Kalen DeBoer, the head coach. She was instrumental in putting together this current defensive staff. So I'm sure whoever does come in is going to be someone special. I'm excited about it. And if you watched Gabe's video today, you would see the fact that Navarro Bowman's name has been batted around. He's currently the linebacker coach with the Chargers over there with Jesse Minter. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity with the system, right? Minter run that Ravens system, just kind of like Danton Lynn. And it will be interesting to see that. Thanks. That's care of Rusty, guys. Fight on Rusty. Make sure you go check him out on Twitter. He's the one, I believe, that I think Gabe said in his video that he was the person that gave him that information. So appreciate both of those guys for that nugget. But who do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. I mean, I know a lot of people have been throwing some alumni around. I would love to see that. And I said it very clearly on the show. Someone, they were bringing up, USC alumni as the next linebacker coach. I honestly would love it to be a Trojan if that Trojan is the most qualified candidate that wants to take the job. That's just it, period, in a nutshell. You guys, we have too long, whether it be AD, whether it be an athletic director, not AD, whether it be the athletic director, hiring Trojan greats to become the athletic director. Mike Garrett did a pretty damn good job, in my opinion. But then, Pat Hayden, Lynn Swan, I'm not really put too much on them as well. They were not qualified for the job. They were great football players, but they really didn't have enough in their background to show us that they're going to be able to pull off the things, that Jennifer Cohen did with his defensive staff, right? That Mike Bone did to bring in Lincoln Riley. So we need to ask ourselves a question as Trojans. Do we want someone? Do we want a feel-good story? I mean, who knows? I mean, one of the guys could be that guy. I don't even want to name them yet because I don't think it's fair to them or the process until we start getting some other names. But I would love it to be a Trojan. The question is who is going to be the best guy for the job? So we could talk about that if you'd like to. We could also talk about some other guys that portaled out. So Miller Moss, news, I don't know why people that was breaking news. This is about the oldest news that there could have been. The day that Jada Mayava was named the starter was the day that in spirit you had Miller Moss leave for the transfer portal. I mean, the writing was on the wall. The guy is too good of a quarterback not to play. And we're seeing it right now. There's already, there's comments out there. I don't know if it's verified or not. Huge, big time programs with a lot of interest in Miller Moss. And that's going to continue to come. I mean, as soon as people knew that he was in the portal, I know all the Michigan guys here on the Voice of College Football world. Yes, please. Thank you. We'll take a Miller Moss. But you guys have to remember, this guy was a Trojan. He grew up a Trojan. Anyone that's not respecting this young man, what he's done, I mean, I don't know how many degrees he probably has here at USC. He could pick almost anywhere he wants to come and go to a school. And it's not, everyone thought, oh, well, he's just going to go to, some small school. Like, for instance, I'll admit, I was talking about Stanford. I was talking Ivy League, like maybe he's done with football, etc. Way off. I thought he was burned. I don't know. I don't know what it would be like for him, the whole experience of playing for his childhood favorite. But clearly he has the arm to play at the highest level, and we're seeing that backed up. You're going to continue to see big names coming after Miller Moss, and I'm excited for him. Great Trojan, and I can't wait to see where his next stop will be. So you guys, if you want to join the show, hop on in. I'm going to drop the StreamYard link in the chat again. Remember, we're not doing call-in unless I get really desperate at the end of the night and I do want to talk to somebody because no one's doing the StreamYard thing. I know we haven't done StreamYard. Geez, we haven't done a StreamYard show for a live show in probably at least a year, maybe going back to last September. So I thought I'd give it a shot, see if people wanted to come on in and join the show on StreamYard, but that's your call. Otherwise, I'll be here for about maybe a half hour. I don't have that much to talk about, really. I know that we're going to do a show, Preston and myself, Monday for sure. Monday night for sure we're going to do something because that's when the portal actually opens up. I think we might even do a Sunday night show, maybe as a kind of really try to get some more of that rumors out there about what, and tighten down. I mean, we have some names have been batted around, but really to look at the actual names that there's a high possibility of USC signing and also going after in the portal. So that might be fun for a Sunday night projection thing. But this thing goes live Monday, and Preston and I for sure. He's already committed to Monday, so we will be going live to talk about any portal news that comes out of USC during that Monday, that first day of the portal opening up. So also Kyron Hudson. So you're talking about two guys, Kyron Hudson and Miller Moss. And if you would have said after the LSU game that Kyron Hudson and Miller Moss were not going to be on the team in 2025, we're probably assuming that they're both going to the NFL, right? I mean, that would probably be the guess because the way they both played in that game was just simply amazing, and no one can take that away from them. I mean, that game, priceless. It was the one time this year where USC was down, needed a touchdown, and they just marched and got that last minute touchdown. That was amazing for me as a Trojan to watch. I'm sure I was there. It was actually my first actual game covering the Trojans on the field, and that was really special for me. And the environment there, the LSU, we know they travel, and all the trash talk going back to 2003 that we had to endure, about how weak we are. Every year they say it. And even again, at this time, they told us that USC wasn't tough enough. Remember? It's just rinse and repeat with those corn dogs. And it was really nice to see the Trojans, and we know our Trojans, all the BS that these people talk on the East Coast and the SEC and all that stuff. It's really, really refreshing to once again go back and kick the shit out of some team that's telling us that we're weak and we're soft. So I was excited for that. Awesome job by Kyron Hudson that game. We're never going to forget that one-handed catch. They had Shotgun Spratley on 247 has that great catch of his one-handed catch I've seen on Instagram a couple of times. And then the targeting catch. I have no idea how that young man held on to that ball. I have no idea. Kyron Hudson. I watched him play at Modern Day. I've watched him at USC. But everyone's ever been hit in the side of the head when you're trying to catch a ball is going to know just how amazing that catch was. And he came up with tons and tons and tons of those catches. We'll put this on hold for a minute. We got a guest coming in. Let's see right here. Hi, Brian. Are you there?
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Great. Brian, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me up.
Oh, listen, I was just sitting here and I just started myself, I want to start putting more content out. And I thought, why not go back to the old fashioned Trojans Live? It makes it a little more fun. I don't have to take the phone calls and have to deal with my cell phone the whole time. So frees me up a little bit. How are you doing? What are your thoughts? Do you want to talk about what we're talking about or anything on your mind you want to talk about?
No. I saw you had went live and talking about the portal, correct?
Talk about what?
The portal.
Yeah, the portal. I mean, there's a lot of smoke on the portal. How much of it's true? Who knows? About coming in, who we got to protect. That we don't want to lose. We don't lose any of these guys. What are your thoughts on the portal?
Well, you definitely don't want to lose any guys, and I hated to see Kyron Hudson enter, but I understand. We got some great receivers. They just got to be utilized properly. But I guess he felt like it's time to move on. He's been here for 4 seasons, pretty much at his ceiling here at SC. So more than likely, probably wherever Moss goes, he might go along with him. They have a great connection. I just hate to hear that Lane and possibly Branch may be going into the portal. I think Lane is a great receiver. Kind of reminds me of a Drake London or Dwayne Jarrett. So um, one thing I noticed that a lot of kids don't like accountability, especially when you couple that with the NIL era and pretty much free agency now in college football. Anytime you hold a kid accountable, or some kids, not all kids, I'm not speaking to all kids, they have a tendency to pout and want to leave the situation. So I definitely wouldn't want to lose either one of them, especially Lemon, because
Yeah.
those type of receivers are hard to come by. 6'5", 5'5" 5XL glove, 40-inch vertical, can box out, can high point the ball. You definitely don't want to lose him. But also with Branch's ability, I just think that Branch was slower this year. It wasn't so much that he didn't get enough playing time or he didn't have enough targets. He just looked slower to me this year. I think he put on too much muscle. A lot of times when you're trying to beef up for a particular conference, like we did, moving to the Big Ten, every player on your roster can't add a bunch of muscle. You don't want to mess with their structure.
Or shouldn't. Sorry, Brian.
Right, and
Some
shouldn't.
can,
Yeah.
or they can, but they shouldn't. I'm with you. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, keep going.
Right. So, if you looked at him his freshman year, he was more explosive, but that's because he was smaller. He had less muscle mass on him. But for some reason this year, and I pointed out, I want to say it was on USC Jay's show, that he looked real slow. He looked slow this year. He was getting caught in the open field a lot.
Slow for him, but yeah, I got you.
For him. Yeah, but he was slower than what I saw his freshman year. His freshman year, the kid was explosive. Once he got in the open field, he was pretty much gone. But this season, I guess it may have been the type of coverages that the defenses were running, but it's kind of much, hard for him to get the ball in his hands and get into the open field. So maybe, he was a little frustrated by that, but I don't want to see either one of those two go. But, I understand, they have to do what's best for them and their family. But I just wanted to point that out that, a lot of times, kids, when, they get, to a certain status, they don't want to be held accountable. So I heard Jacoby Lane was, pretty much thinking about getting in the portal. And I'm thinking it was because he was benched during the season. He was benched during the season for a comment that he made that he wasn't supposed to make.
Right. Yeah, I think that was patched up. I mean, a lot was patched up. Like, for instance, remember, Brian, you probably remember this. They were making a big deal about Jacoby making the comments in support of Miller and Moss, and you got a new quarterback coming in, and Jaden's like, what the hell? What the hell am I? But it was so nice if you watched it when he threw that first touchdown. It was like two young men, and they were both celebrating and smiling and laughing on the sideline. So if there was any kind of tension, which I think probably was built up more from the fan base than anything else, clearly it was not showing up on the field. But yeah, we're young. Who didn't say something they regretted when they were like 19, 20 years old? I mean, it's what we do when we're that age. And
but even with that though, Tim, you're correct. We do mess up, but you gotta understand also that doesn't mean that you can't be held accountable just because you're young.
Good point.
And that's a life lesson for you, going forward for anybody. We're all gonna mess up, and we should be afforded grace. But as young men, growing into grown men, there's an understanding that, hey, look, I'm still responsible for my actions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's no arguing that. And I think he was held accountable. And there's a maturation process. You don't go to college just to learn books. You go to learn life too, And these gentlemen, you play on a football team, you don't just go and learn X's and O's. These guys are not your parents, but they are like family, and then they are disciplinarians. And the right coaches, they know that right combination of when to give the carrot, when to give the stick. You know what I mean? It's like it's in between, and you got to be fair to young men. And you can't. I mean, I'm a teacher. You can't treat every player the same way because people don't react the same way. People don't think the same way, and you have to give them what they need. And I do think they handled this right. I think it was just firm enough because you can't let that go. That causes problems on a team. But yeah, I mean, I think Jacoby. I want your thought on this really quick though. I think this is a new NIL thing, and we saw a little bit with Bear last year with Bear Alexander, kind of testing the market. Well, I will, I might want to go to the thing, I might, when they want a bit of a pay bump. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And hey, listen, more power to them. These universities are making millions and millions of dollars. And if you can give that kind of NIL money, you could probably afford to give a little bit more. Not telling people how to spend their money, but that's life. I wonder in your mind, and anyone else in the chat, you guys, let me know in the chat. What what do you think about that? This is basically an NFL with 1-year contracts, right?
Right.
And
Right.
what do you think the answer is to this beyond changing the rules within what we have right now? What do you think has to be done in order to kind of get a hold on some of this?
Well, you're correct. It's free agency is what it is. So, a lot of these kids are going to be 1-year rentals. And again, if they're not happy with their situation, they can always, jump in the portal. One way to do it is with the revenue sharing and putting a cap on the NIL per year. Other than that, you're going to have the Wild Wild West. And when this thing first started a few years ago, I made a comment on one platform indicating that this was going to turn into the Wild Wild West. And of course, you had some of the sports pundits disagreeing, saying that no, it's not going to be that bad. You're not going to have, a bunch of kids with $1 million contracts. Lo and behold, 2.5 years later, you got kids getting $12 million contracts. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't think unless the NCAA comes out, which they pretty much are powerless right now, unless they, put some type of parameters in place to where, okay, outside of the revenue sharing, which all of the athletes, get a set amount. Unless they put a cap on that NIL, and I understand that each player is gonna require a different amount because each player is not the same. Just like you said earlier, you're not going to discipline each player the same because they're all different. Each one of them come with a certain set of abilities, athletic abilities. So you're not going to pay them the same. But until they put some type of parameters in place, and that may be the answer to it, putting some type of restrictions on that portal. Hey, look, you just can't jump in the portal from year to year. You get two bites at the apple, and outside of that, you have to pretty much stick it out. So until they do that, it's going to be pretty much the Wild Wild West, and it's going to be 1 year free agents. Go ahead.
But I wonder. I mean, I think they might try to do that with a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But can they? And will it hold up in the courts? I mean, that's really the thing. It's
that's the problem.
They've done this thing for a while where they were kind of the bullies, and they really at the detriment of the players and the families, mainly as the universities got filthy rich. And it was a shame that way back when, even like, for guys like there are stories of guys, and they wonder why they were getting $100 handshake stuff. It's because when the training table wasn't year round back in the day, and then you got these guys that they need to maintain weight. They're big guys and they need to eat, and they weren't allowed to have certain jobs and stuff. So it's hard for them to get jobs. They're at practice and all this stuff anyway. They go to tutoring and they're getting their college degree, and it made it impossible for them. And it was the greed that led us to down this road. And I'm hoping that the greed all the way around, because money is money. And I think that everyone's getting money now. But is this going to be another situation where, unless they get some guardrails on it, it's going to start turning fans off? And already it's like, there's like 4 teams. And if you just look at the top 5 teams that finished in the recruiting cycle this year, it's the ones that are throwing the most cash around. So,
it's going to come down to a situation, to the have and have nots. Now, it was like that, but it was pretty much, unspoken, like an unspoken, language in college football. Certain players have always gotten paid, but not to this magnitude and not this many players. I don't see, them getting a handle on this, because this is pretty much retribution, like you said, from all of those years where those players weren't getting paid. Well, now the floodgates have opened now. You understand what I'm saying? So, now that they've started making all of this money and they're getting paid off their name and image, and likeness, how can you tell a kid that, you can only stop at X amount of dollars for the number of jerseys that you sell? You can't tell them that. So the courts have sided with the players. So good luck with trying to put, some type of parameters on it. Now, like I said, with this revenue sharing, you can say, well, hey, look, or check this out. Each school come to an agreement to where, hey, look, we're going to hold each school accountable. Each president is going to hold, each school accountable, and we can only give so much and collective money, per player. That's the only way you're going to do it. But I don't even see that happening because
You know why?
at the end of the day,
You know
go
why
ahead.
it's not going to happen?
Why is that?
Because look at schools that really have always kind of run. You know, everyone points to the SEC, and the SEC has had the best football, you know, for about 20 years.
Right.
But the power in this sport has always been the Big Ten. Look where the NCAA is located, Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
right smack dab in the middle. You
Right.
know, when they come after USC, yeah, you know, we were kicking the crap out of Auburn. We were beating LSU. We were beating
Arkansas. Yeah.
But really, when we pissed them off is when we were kicking the crap out of Ohio State, when we're kicking the crap out of Michigan, we're kicking the crap out of Penn State, Iowa, Illinois, down the list. SC was just kicking they could not beat USC. So they couldn't beat us on the field, so they beat us in the NCAA. And where is that located? Right in the middle of the Big Ten.
Right. But here's the thing: in order for, and I think the SEC had played a part in it too, because they got what was it, Paul D, to do their bidding. In order, he's ACC.
Yeah,
okay,
he was a Miami AD.
That's right. You're correct. In order for the ESPN to really promote the SEC and for more than just one team to run college football, they had to take down USC. They had to. So how do you do that? Let's put some sanctions on them. Let's take 30 scholarships away from them, and that's going to negatively impact. From 30 young men, and that's going to negatively impact the recruiting. And then on top of that, you compound that by them losing their coach. So now you lose the whole, magnet, the linchpin to everything. Pete Carroll was the linchpin to everything because he was able to keep that talent at home and then go and cherry pick talent from across the country. Well, now you snatch 30 away from me. Well, I might as well go off to the NFL. And that's not to say that, he wasn't going to get back to the NFL.
He was going.
Eventually.
He was going.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's not to say that, but, anytime you snatch that amount of scholarships away from a program, you're pretty much crippling them.
Yeah.
And the recruit field.
They were doing. They short of the SMU death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they wanted to get USC, but again, the thing is crap is that they did two things. One, how many kids got injured because of the amount of scholarships were lost, and you got guys playing extra reps, maybe potentially ruining their NFL or shortening their NFL careers. But then also the biggest travesty also is back then, that's 30 scholarships of kids that probably grew up wanting to be Trojans, especially during that period of time, and get a USC education that then the NCAA, the whole purpose of the NCAA is to promote the student athlete. How did any of that help student athletes at all? And I mean, we all know it's a witch hunt. We can get off of that. But
if you notice, to sum that up, if you notice, that's when the kids started leaving Southern Cal and started going to Oregon, started going to Ohio State, and then a few years later down the line, Georgia and Alabama started poaching kids out of Southern California. So that was the genesis of it, but. We've had some bad coaching hires as well. So you compound that. You compound that on top of what happened. Then, it's pretty much, was a wrap for us. They accomplished their goal.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it was just so patently obvious that they wanted to kneecap and hobble USC. Because like I said, you guys can't beat us on the field, so you had to do it somehow. So you called mommy and daddy, you called the NCAA, said, look, we can't beat these guys. Unless you're Texas. Yeah. And the funny thing, on a side note, I don't want to talk about 2005 and that really. But the story is that pretty much nobody outside of the Big 12, because you look at Kansas State and Texas, and then the Pac-12, the two conferences they all crap on now. They were the only conferences who could beat USC. SEC couldn't beat USC. ACC couldn't beat USC, and the Big Ten sure as shit could not beat USC during those years. That was pretty clear. So
Pete Carroll had his run of them. Yeah, he had his run of Illinois, Michigan, Ohio State. He had his run of all of them. Penn State, he had his run of them, and they couldn't do anything. But getting back to what you were talking about, I would hate to lose a kid like Jacoby or Zach. I would hate to lose those kids, because of some, disagreement or understand. Like you said, they might have done it, so they can up their NIL package, and you can't blame them for that. You
Nope.
see all of these news kids coming in, and they're getting, pretty good NIL packages. If I jump in there, if you really, value me as a player, you'll up mine, and I'll come right on out of the portal. I can't get mad at that.
No, USC's got to make sure. So so we're getting the names. You're throwing out the receivers, and because the most smoke had been around, obviously because Jacoby had the issues, and Jacoby's always kind of literally at practice marched to the beat of a different drum, and you have Zachariah Branch, who I'm not sure why he would be unhappy with his role in the team, because he was getting, he's getting lots of looks, lots of catches.
Right.
How he's being used on fades and whatever, instead of like, again, stick routes or dig routes or cross, or like mesh. It just seemed like it was the wrong way to use them. No jet sweeps.
I agree. I agree.
And that was part of it. Losing the kickoff returns to Makai Lemon. That's a hit to the ego after being an All-American the year before.
Well, I think he just had a lot on his plate. I think that kind of helped. I think that kind of helped him out. I think he had a lot on his plate with kickoff return, punt return, receiver. I think that did him some good because it took some of the weight off of his shoulders. Remember, everybody was expecting him every time he tested on the kickoff return to take it to the house. So now you start really pressing it. And then on the punt returns, misjudging them. Or I think he had really started to press, in addition to, like I said, looking a step slower. So I believe that if he loses some of that muscle, I believe he'll get back to his form of his freshman year.
Yeah, they're getting on me saying that my audio is low, so I kind of adjust. Is that better, guys? Thank you, guys, by the way. And if anyone knows about audio, it's Traveling Fools, that guy. And I think he was at Right On Fight On. Thank you I saw you earlier in the chat. I hope that fixed the audio a little bit. I did adjust can someone let me know if I adjusted it a little bit better? Yeah, and with Branch, I think the kickoffs, a lot of people were saying that they were not happy with his returns, etc. He did do some head scratchers there, but that was more on the punting, not really the kickoff returns.
Right.
But I also think you start getting nicked up a little bit throughout the season, and maybe you could pull it back. Maybe he was a little bit hurt, and you take some of those responsibilities away from him. I don't know. None of that stuff is really kind of promoted and given to us, even the media or even the fans or whatever. You're never going to hear that in any kind of a press conference ever.
Let me ask you a question, Tim. What kind of bowl you see us going to?
Well, let's go. Let's get into that. That's part of the show we're going to talk about. So it's been batted around for a while. So all my rule is, I got a rule. I don't like playing in Texas. USC does not do well in Texas. I do not want to go to the Sun Bowl. Going way back in the old days, the John Hancock Bowl, I think. Was that in Texas? I can't remember. But you just don't want to play in Jerry World. We just don't play well in Texas. So we
don't do well in the Cotton Bowl or the Sun Bowl. I think the last Sun Bowl we played in was Kiffin's 2012. 2012.
Kiffin Punch Out game, yeah, that one.
So we lost it. We lost it to Georgia Tech. 21-7. We lost the game.
Brett McMurphy scared the crap out of me because he came out earlier. Gabe pointed this out to me. Brett McMurphy from Action Network said USC in the Sun Bowl versus somebody, right? And that freaked me out. Then you had CBS come out with saying SC in the Sun Bowl versus Syracuse. Talk about a snoozer on that one.
I've been hearing also USC versus Texas A&M in the Las Vegas Bowl. I would love to see that.
That's what I'll say. ESPN is reporting a Las Vegas Bowl for USC against Texas A&M or Missouri even. And I'll tell you,
I would prefer that.
I want to play LSU. To be honest with you, I don't know if that's possible. I'd rather play them than Texas A&M and Missouri. I'm sorry, I bet Oklahoma, not Texas.
Oh, okay. I was about to say they're not going to do that again. They're not going to put them up.
Late. Yeah. No. We haven't had the season where we're gonna be able to pick our bowls, but that one's not gonna happen. But I'm just worried about USC going up against some of those offensive. If we have to play Texas A&M or Missouri, their offensive lines, given the fact we don't know exactly. Now the good news is we've heard that Eric Gentry is going to be back, so that's great news. I mean, listen, EG back in the game it was just something about it was like a spark, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not just
I
his
agree.
physical talent, just another, just the offense, the defense just looked a little bit lighter. They played a little more free.
Right.
They played a little more downhill. It just seemed like they were attacking,
Hmm.
and he was legit pass rush in himself, you know.
Yeah.
And
If you notice, when he went out, that's when the pressure and the sacks went down, or even the TFLs. When Eric, he just has a natural instinct of finding the ball and making that tackle. I definitely believe that he was the leader of the defense, but I wouldn't mind, going up against Texas A&M. In that last game that they played against Texas, where their offense didn't even score. Their defense got a fumble or pick six or something like that, and they ended up losing that game to Texas like 21-7. I really think that
mm,
Sark was trying to preserve some of his players. I don't think he really pressed the envelope against them. I think he was saving it for the SEC championship. Sark has done really well, so I'm proud of him. But I
yeah,
would like to face a team like Missouri or Texas A&M. They really don't, scare me. But I do not want to go back to El Paso.
no. Again, one, because I don't want to try. I don't want to. I don't want to go. Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere in Texas. It would be great.
You know.
Vegas. I made that trip for the LSU game.
Hmm.
I'd be more than happy to take it again for the Las Vegas Bowl. I've been to Las Vegas, I think 2 or 3 of Las Vegas Bowls. I mean, I remember
Uh,
Pete Carroll's first year going out there and playing the Utes. It wasn't a great ending to it, but it was a fun time. But yeah, Brian, appreciate you calling in. And you are the first caller to this show.
yeah.
I
Okay.
guess this is new. If we're gonna call this a new tailgate show.
Okay.
You're the first caller, and you may be the only caller because nobody else is taking me up on joining me tonight. But appreciate you calling in.
Okay.
In the chat, they're saying my audio is messed up, and usually my audio is spot on. But
I can hear
in the
you
chat, you
just
guys let me
fine.
know.
I can hear you just fine. I saw a comment where they said that they could hear me. I was louder than you, but I can hear you just fine.
I made a couple adjustments. I don't know. No one's really helped me out with it. I'm kind of looking at the chat right now, but I think we're okay. Yeah, you sounded fine on my end as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Was
appreciate
that
the
was
chat helping
that
us out.
was that what you were hearing as far as the receivers? Were those the two names that you were hearing?
I've heard something about every one of our receivers. And I'm not gonna share a lot of it because remember I was saying to you, like, I don't want to talk about there's nothing solid. I mean, there's lots you could make a reason for any of these guys going because they're all talented and they would definitely get a lot more targets at our schools. But what do you want to do? What is your goal? Do you want to be developed by Simmons? Do you want to play for SC and finish out your career at USC just like special next year? A lot of these guys are with a good season because next year's their money season as well. Let's be real.
Right.
Next year's their money season. Do they want to put those big numbers, work their way into a first round draft pick? But remember, Addison came in with ridiculous numbers off for winning the Biletnikoff award. And then he comes
Hmm.
to SC and his numbers greatly reduced, but he had put all that film up.
Hmm.
And it's not like these guys can't put the film up either. As long as they're playing, staying healthy in this offense, I think that they can shine. But who knows? You got agents and ears, you got all kinds of
Right.
people going on. You've got obviously, it's not tampering because you go through third parties, so it's technically legal. But there's a lot
Right.
of fishing going around. I loved all these guys. I think they're all diehard Trojans. I think it have to be something really special put together for them to go. But to be brutally honest, I don't really want to speculate on which ones I think are
Right.
going. But if I was being honest with you, I've heard stuff, either in group chats or talking to other people in the media about every one of these wide receivers, and not just recently. I mean, going back a couple of weeks. So we'll let it play
Well,
out.
here's the
We'll let it
thing.
play out.
Here's the thing. Anywhere you go, if you decide to leave, you're gonna have to compete for a spot, and that's anywhere you go. I don't see any team where receivers or players, period, in general, is going to be content with coming in and letting you take their position away from them. With Addison, his production decreased. I wouldn't say it declined, but it decreased because we had other good receivers on the squad.
Yeah.
So of course, naturally, you have options to go to. I think in Pittsburgh, he was one of the main um, targets on that offense. Him with that many catches. Anytime you got a receiver with 85, 90 catches on a year, they probably don't have any other receivers to throw it to.
Yeah,
So
just in the teams we played, Brian, this year. Just from the teams we played this year, I mean, look at a Michigan. You give Michigan a quarterback and any one of our wide receivers as their number one guy. Shoot, they're looking at maybe being in the playoffs. Look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to the playoffs. Great team. Hand them one of these guys. So to say that the market's not out there for these, the market is out there for these guys because there's a lot of teams out there that don't have wide receivers. USC is just blessed and cursed at the same time to have a number, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. And again, with Tanook Hines coming in, you know what I mean?
right.
You're gonna have Corey Sims coming in, Eisen coming. Yeah, there's dudes coming in again. And
you have to look at the finished product. Okay, who's putting the most receivers in the league outside of USC and LSU? Who else across college football? Oh, and Alabama. Who else is putting receivers in the league like that? Right now, USC probably has about 7 active receivers in the NFL right now. So
quality,
that's a selling, quality.
Yeah.
So that's a selling point. So of course, we're going to get, pretty much, pick of the litter. You just got to come in and compete, and it's pretty much a pipeline to the NFL. So that's why you're going to have the Sims to come in. So and that's a recruiting pitch in itself. Hey, look, we put you in the league, and it's true. It's true.
And
receivers and quarterbacks.
Each one of these guys, outside of probably Mekhi Lemon, each one of these guys could have played a hell of a lot better, and they know it.
Right.
They didn't play their A ball this year,
especially with blocking. Especially with blocking on the perimeter, and I'm glad you alluded to that. I noticed that Zach took some hits on the outside where a receiver was supposed to be blocking, one of the DBs, and maybe got a little lax, and the DB got by him, and he took some hits.
Well, I don't want to use the word untrained eye, but a lot of people get all over the play calling, and they don't realize that if these guys are setting up their blocks on those screens on the outside, maybe you don't have your tight end getting cut down the backfield. Maybe you don't see your receiver losing 3 or 4 yards. I mean, there's a lot more than the play call. It's also execution of the players, and that is what I'm talking about. But I'm also talking about some drops. Jay didn't help Jaden out. They didn't help Miller this year. There were a lot of times where they made some spectacular catches, but these guys are better than that. They're better than the way they played, both, with the ball in their hands and without the ball in their hands. And I know next year's going to be sick. Let me grab this one really quick.
Okay.
Let me grab this question really quick. No. That's the one thing I can tell you. No, he has not lost the team. He hasn't.
I don't think he has.
This team's tight. This team is tight. There's always people. There's always going to be people on this team, on any team, that aren't happy with their play, their amount of plays, their amount of carries, their amount of targets, their amount of reps. It's always going to be a part of football. But to talk about losing the locker room, that's a whole different world. And this is a tight team. They want to be Trojans. Yes, other people are unhappy, of course. On every team, there's those guys that feel they should be getting a little bit more. And you know what? If they didn't, I would worry about their drive to be great. If they are just complacent and sitting back on the bench, now you got to be careful how you focus that energy, because you can hurt your team, you can hurt your reps, you can hurt your targets doing that as well. Right. But overall, I've never heard from anybody, any parent, any player, any coach, and Riley made it very clear. He says he's proud of these guys. He's very proud of these guys because he said there was none of that going on in all of the losses. Sure.
And winning fixes that all. You have to remember, you got some teams that's in the playoffs right now that have players jumping in the portal. So you're going to have some players that aren't happy, especially if they don't, they're not getting the playing time or the type of money that they feel like they should be, getting. So you can't satisfy everybody, but for the most part, we were right there in games that we should have won, this year. A lot of our losses came within 3 points. That could have changed the trajectory of our entire season. 1 or 2 points, 1 or 2 stops or 1 or 2 field goals made, then we're having a whole different conversation. We're probably looking at, instead of being 6-6, we're probably looking at 10-2, 9-3 at the worst. If you think about a few of those games that we lost by 1 or 2 points, lost to Michigan, lost to Penn State, last minute field goal.
I don't even want to talk about Minnesota.
Minnesota. Well, I don't think Minnesota's going to let us out of there with that victory. So I'm not even counting
No,
them.
the Big Ten wasn't letting us out with that victory. They wanted to pay
Right,
up for
right.
Minnesota getting screwed the
And,
week before.
yeah, yeah. And Maryland, we lost to Maryland. Boy, was it 29 and
That was
28?
on the team and the coaches. That was
Right,
the
right.
one.
So a lot of those losses, I counted at least, 4 losses where, it was within 1 to 3 points that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
So now instead of being 6-6, now you're looking at least 9-3, like I said, or 10-2, and firmly probably, into the playoffs. So I think it's just a level of growth. I think it's
Mm.
us seeing a new conference. Of course, the refs didn't do us any favors, but that's to be expected. So now you see how they officiate games in this conference. So I think next year, this is a learning experience for
That's a
them.
great point.
Yeah. So next year they'll know, how to respond, what's going to be called and what's not going to be called. You just want to get some type of consistency though. Um, I think, they'll grow from this and be better. We just got to be aggressive and strategic on how we attack that portal, as far as getting the interior um, linemen, the defensive linemen, the nose guards that eat up those blocks so the linebackers can come in there and do what they're supposed to do, make tackles.
But I mean, listen, guys, everyone's freaking out about this recruiting class. Stack the lines of the last 3 recruiting classes and look at the guys that USC has pulled in the last 3 recruiting classes. The issue has been what? Line depth, right? Line
Mm-hmm.
talent, top end talent, pass rush, and that kind of thing. Back-to-back years, we've got on the defensive line, we have gotten bigger. We have become more talented, and you add Jakeem Stewart, as a 3 technique. You have young Cam Fountain coming off of
Right.
last year, and
Right.
it is truly going to change. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I'm not. We can't get into it tonight. And we have another caller that did come in, but they popped back out. But we do have a lot of talent on this team. And talking about trajectory, when I was a kid, there were these comic books. They were called "What If." And I was like, you change one little thing and what happens? I mean, USC has been snake bit. Now, what if they lose the game and that they lose the overtime game against Utah, right? Now, this is the negative side of it. But man, a lot had to go wrong. And I mean, a lot had to go wrong in the games that USC has lost. Think about just back to the Cotton Bowl. What if USC wins that Cotton Bowl game? What if the Pac-12 officiating decides not to throw 2 ridiculous pass interference calls against USC, and USC goes into Salt Lake City and knocks off Utah? What if Caleb Williams doesn't pull a hamstring?
Pull a hamstring, right?
I mean, those 2 I just named about Utah, you don't have to go very far. What if we don't fumble the ball at the 1-yard line on a kickoff? That's 3 losses right there. It's not like we're playing the blame game, whatever. Those were 3 freakish losses by USC.
Right.
So when people talk about how far away we are and why we can't do this and what we can and can't do,
Right.
I get it. The ball bounces the other way as well. But man,
Right.
USC having the officiating crew in the booth make a new rule about what is replayable and to award that touchdown
To Minnesota
was pretty damn embarrassing for the conference. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the play, if you go back and watch it, the quarterback, well, first of all, they couldn't see him cross the goal line. It was an indisputable. And the quarterback didn't have the ball. He fumbled the ball. And C had the ball.
Yeah. He fumbled.
That was a big part of it. So
it's the perfect. It stands. That's how you do it. It stands. That
Right.
play stands. It doesn't.
As it was called on the field.
Because
It
you
stands
don't
as
see
it
the ball
called.
across
Right.
the plane. You never
Right.
see
You
it.
don't see.
Therefore, you cannot call a touchdown. It was called on the field. You never saw it cross the plane. Therefore, you can't overturn it. And they did. Yeah. That's just a shame. Brian, dude, really appreciate your call, man.
You're welcome.
That was a great first call. You got us off to a great start here. Hope you'll call back in again.
All right. No problem at all. Thanks for having me up. All right.
Yeah, anytime. Great call. Fight on.
All right. Fight on.
Yeah, dude. That's about. Oh, I got my things all mixed up. What's going on here? My bad. I got to do it. It's our first call, so we have to do it. And it's gonna be completely out of cadence because I don't have it ready. But thank you. Listen, Brian, that's the first one for the Tailgate show. Thank you so much for getting us started off hot. We had someone that checked in. I missed it. I couldn't see. It's too small. The print's too small. But they checked back out. But I'll talk for a little bit more. And then I'm going to get out of here. We're coming up on an hour. I'll stay as long as we have people who want to talk. But I can't. I worked all day today. I can't sit up here. I'm a teacher. I talk for a living. So, I mean, I can't sit up here forever. Going back to the portal situation. So we were talking about Kyron Hudson. We have Amos Talalele. He's the third guy that recently he's portaled out. He had an opportunity. He just really could not really secure that right guard position, which was, with Alani Noah, that was having a lot of trouble. He got out there a little bit. He had a little bit of trouble on special teams. That's been overly publicized. It happens. You're not defined by one play. But he's gonna go somewhere else. And this just is a hit because there's, believe it or not, some veteran off a guard that could have helped us out this year, possibly at the very least with some quality depth that's not gonna be on the team. Speaking of veteran depth, you have Gino Quinones, who's a very versatile guy. He's come out and said that he's gonna be entering the portal. So you lose Gino Quinones on top. So you Amos Talalele and Quinones, two interior guys that really could have given you depth next year. But remember, we also had two really good interior linemen that did not play this year from that class. You had Treater, Hayden Treater, just a massive. We were lucky enough to have him on our show. Just a massive, brilliant. I mean, again, that's why I love having offensive linemen, doing interviews with offensive linemen, because they're often the smartest dudes on the field. You have Hayden Treater coming in, so he's be there. You have Michael Banuelos, who's also coming off of shoulder an injured upper arm, shoulder injury. He'll be back next year. So it was going to be a bit of a log jam there. But to see guys leaving right now, they've been in the program a long time. Appreciate them being great Trojans, but there goes some depth off of your offensive line. And then speaking of depth, you have Jake Jensen. Jake Jensen came in, and he's been primarily, third string guy, been with the program, could have easily stepped in, got a good arm. And I think he just really, he's has his degree from USC, played at USC and wants to move on. So to all these guys, we just have to wish them the best. They all, whether it's been on the field or whether it's been on the practice field, have been great Trojans and helped support this team to be as good as they are. So tough to see them lose. Returning though, so we talked about some people that might be portaling out. Again, we've been hearing stuff. Brian and I talked about all the receivers. There's people talking. There's talk about someone was telling me today about alignments, which would be shocking to me, but I don't even want to repeat it. So that's an interesting take. And then there's also other guys, and there are going to be other guys, because as they bring guys in, remember, this is going to be a very fluid situation with the portal. Because right now, these guys are looking at depth, and they do want, especially the day and age of NIL, you need to play on the field in order to be able to get that big NIL. And if you're sitting on the bench behind people, that's probably not going to happen. So look for people as guys come in. You're going to see this shuffle happen. Hate to lose any Trojans. Love all these guys. Returning, though, as I talked about as well, Eric Gentry's made it clear he'll be coming back. And remember, next year, you're going to have Anthony Lucas coming back. That, along with the young men that I just talked about, we're going to have quite an offensive line. And then with Eric Gentry as well, I think the pass rush situation we've had is going to look a lot different, because we had a great secondary this year, but you put a lot of pressure on that secondary. You cannot generate a pass rush. And then Rajon Davis, I believe, is going to play because he won't, because of the bowl game, the rules, you can play in the bowl game without burning a red shirt. So we also hopefully will see Rajon Davis. And every time we see Rajon Davis come out and play, he's played solid. So I'm excited to see Rajon get out there and get some reps in. So those are the guys returning. I'd love to hear from anybody in the chat if they want to. If you want to talk about anybody that you think might be leaving, drop us in the chat. We'll try to pull it up. But again, if we're going to throw rumors around, almost anybody could potentially be a target to enter the portal. I do think, though, you guys strap in. It's going to be bumpy. We're going to lose some. I think somewhere along it's bound to happen. We're going to lose someone that is a fan favorite. But the situation is going to be that if they're doing, you got to make sure you got to do what's best for them. And if that's what they want to do, then you got to, again, please, you guys be solid Trojans. Don't eat our own, you know, don't eat our own. So who's coming in? Who potentially could be coming in? Gabe over at Trojan Blade did a great video. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out his channel. He's over 10,000 subs now. Congratulations, Gabe. But the link to his channel is in my chat. Take a look at it. He did a great video on possible people portaling in. He talked about Jackson Arnold, the 6'1", 210-pound dual threat quarterback of Oklahoma. What did that piss Oklahoma off? They weren't happy with him. He only had 3 interceptions on the year, but that dual threat, you got to develop his arm. But if you talk about a guy, Lincoln Riley is the quarterback guy. Man, he can develop people. He was a previous 5-star. He's a really good quarterback. He rushed for over 120 yards against Alabama on like designed quarterback runs. We're not talking about scrambling. I mean, he is a dual threat quarterback. So Jackson Arnold's out there. He will likely get a number of looks from teams because, quite frankly, there's a lot of teams out there that need quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, John Mateer, I talked about him on our last show. He's a kid up at Washington State, 6'1", 220, also dual threat. He rushed for over 800 yards this year and scored 14 times on the ground. So he is legitimate, and he has an arm. So that's another guy. He will absolutely, I think he'll probably be the top guy in the portal that people are looking for. So keep an eye on that one. Let's see. I'm not taking phone calls. Sorry. Gabriel Lightfoot. I remember USC flirted with him last year. He's the kid from Fresno State. Now, here's a position we need, and we'll always need. We want big depth at defensive tackle. And this kid's big, 6'3", about 300 pounds, I think. Just adding that depth, stacking that depth, be a great pickup for SC. He also talked about Josh Thompson. That's the guy from he's from Northwestern. Northwestern. Honorable mention, Big Ten guard, another big dude, 6'5", 301. And Gabe was saying that he's a great pass rusher, a pass blocker. And if anyone's been watching the last couple of years, that's something that is a premium. But I will say this, like I said after the Michigan game, when USC found out what blocking is, right? Grab, reach, whatever you want. That's legal blocking, pass blocking in the Big Ten. USC's pass protection got considerably better after that. So still saying that anytime you could add a guy who's a Big Ten honorable mention, a veteran presence, that could come in and maybe fill in for Emmanuel Pregnon, who's moving on to the NFL. That he'd be a huge get for USC. And the final one, again, coming from Rusty, Eric Rivers, the FIU receiver. Rusty was telling Gabe that this guy is legit, and there is some interest, and USC is looking that way. So really excited with basically all of that talk. I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts are. If you guys have heard anything, any rumors, but we're going to do a big rumor show and a big conversation about, who we think the targets might be on Sunday night. Definitely talk about whoever does go in the portal on a Monday with Preston. So make sure you check us out. Probably going to be a 7 o'clock show. And that one will be a call-in show. So our traditional phone call-in show. Anything else? Anybody got any questions? I didn't catch any questions, to be honest with you. I could take a quick peek. Oh, LV. I didn't. Oh my God, it's probably from a long time ago. LV. Heard that Zach Branch is leaving. That's been talked about a lot all over Twitter. And we kind of hit on this a little bit. I think this question was put in before we talked about it, but Brian and I talked about that a little bit. There's a possibility out there, but if you're talking about guys that got a lot of looks of the football, he was one of them. So I don't know. I would hate to see Zachariah leave. I was a big fan when he came in. I absolutely see the potential. The guy is electric. You can't tackle this guy in a phone booth. So would love to see him come back for that junior year and just run like someone in the chats to talk about gadget plays. Just give him the right plays and he will be able to take off. So keep that in mind as well. But listen, I think we are done here. Listen, thank you to Brian. We're having a live show where I could talk, I could kind of interact with the chat. I'm gonna go through the chat really quickly to see if there's anything here that I might have missed as far as questions are concerned, but I didn't really get a lot of questions. You guys were lively and appreciate everyone being here. Matter of fact, you guys, if you did enjoy the show and you want to see more of these, if you want to see more of these pop-up shows and these live shows with me going on, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Making sure you hit the like, because that, there's nothing better, appreciate nothing better than to let me know that you are enjoying this content and seeing people subscribing and hitting that like button, because that the best data I can get saying that you guys want to see more of this. So if you guys do want to see more of this, please give it. So if you haven't already subscribed, I'd appreciate it. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button. It's right in the corner, right down there somewhere. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell notification, because we will go live. There will be portal action. I'm hoping it's portal in, not out, but we will be here either way. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We'll look at the numbers, see if you guys like the show or not. Appreciate, though, one thing I do appreciate everyone being here. It's a Friday night. You guys have busy lives. Christmas party's coming up. Let me know any show ideas you have. Where do I have that information? Down here. Let us know. You can hit me up on Twitter if you'd like, or you could go ahead and the email trojanconquestlive@gmail.com. Go ahead and leave us what you liked, what you didn't like. I'm always listening to you guys, because this channel really is for you guys. This, the call-in show is about you guys. This show is about the Trojan family, and I sincerely mean that. I love talking to all you guys. And now I met a guy at my work, Joe. If you're out there, Joe, recognized me from the show. Thank you for coming and saying hi a couple of times. I'm actually talking to people at games now in the stands, which is really, really fun. So if you see me, say hi. Love to talk to you guys. But let me know. Let me know. The information's down here. What do you guys want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? I know you want to see less of me, more of Preston. Again, he'll be back here on Monday. But other than that, appreciate you all being here. All right. Is there any more? Is there any housekeeping I need to take care of? I don't think so. No. So probably a show Sunday night, possibly, but definitely a show Monday night with Preston. Okay. Fight on, you guys. I hope you guys like this new Tailgate show. It's called The Tailgate. So if you guys like it, like the idea, like the name, let me know in the comment section. Other than that, we'll see you guys Sunday, but definitely on Monday. Fight on, you guys.